Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Integrated Innovation Network, or I2N. My name is Siobhan Curran and I'm the manager of the I2N. I'm joined by my colleague Richard Berry here today as well. Welcome to Startup Stories. First of all, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathered today, the Awabakal and the Warramai people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge their continuing connection and cultures to the lands and waters of Australia. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the I2N, we were established about 5 years ago. Some of you might remember our little old hub down on Hunter Street up until recently, before moving into this beautiful location here at Q Building. We support innovators and entrepreneurs across the Hunter region by providing a series of programs that include everything from enterprise skill development, so hackathons, pre-accelerated programs like the Female Founders Program, support for our academics, for them to understand how their research might have real world impact and working with industry, through to incubation or co-working. So if you're curious to know a little bit more about who we are and what we do and how we can support innovators and entrepreneurs, some of you might have an idea bubbling away in the back of your head, or you might already be an established company that's generating revenue or raising capital. Please hit Richard or I up for a conversation after today's event, and we'd love to get to know you a little bit more and let you know about how we might be able to help. And also too, we'll be doing a little tour at the end of the event as well. So if you want to know more about the building and see the co-working upstairs too, we can take you on a tour of the space as well. Okay, so a little outline of the format for today's event. We've taken some questions from some registrants of today's event at registration. So we'll lead with those before our speaker, after our speaker provides a brief introduction on their innovation journey. And then we'll open to any questions in the audience. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to open up for Q&A for you today. So our guest this morning is Mike Chijoff. He's an award-winning designer and founder of Tactica, an adventure brand hardware company. Mike's been solving problems for industries for over 20 years, and his most recent device has gone on to become the highest funded multi-tool in crowdfunding history, raising more than $960,000. I'm not going to share any more secrets or intel about what Mike is and what he's done, because that's for you to do today at Startup Stories. I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for your time this morning. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hi, good to be here. Yeah, I've switched it. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I guess today I just wanted to give you a bit of an insight into my journey and about Tactica, the business, where we came from, yeah, what's happening today, and sort of a bit about the future. So to give you a bit of a background on me, I actually started here in Newcastle. I was in grew up in Sydney, but actually worked over at the steel mill over in Mayfield, of all places. So I studied material science and got a job there in quality control. So essentially from there, I realised that that wasn't for me, and I had a sort of bent for the creative. So I was always looking for challenges. So I had the opportunity in that sort of organisations, or Smorgon, to move. So I went into production, I went into scheduling. So sorry, I thought this was on mute. I know, that's very bad. And then into sort of supply chain logistics. And so I tell you this because it's very pertinent to what I do today. And again, it's about this journey of where you come from informs what you do in the future. For me, it is. So, but what was yearning was this passion for design. So I went back to study industrial design and started a consultancy. And so did that for about 12 odd years and designed during that time everything from bags to barbecues to pro audio speakers to even like a water harvester for the Middle East. It was as tall as this room, which is a fascinating project. But what was really interesting was that I found there was a yearning that we'd design a product or have a solution for a client's problem and then hand it over. So there wasn't that connection with the customer, with the feedback, with, you know, with a passive income either, you know. So that was essentially where the idea of running your own brand sort of came from. So, so back in 2014, we created, we spent way too long on what was a really simple product, a bottle opener, because Kickstarter was starting to grow at that stage. It was becoming more and more prevalent. And so we thought we need, as a consultancy, we need to be in this space and be successful. So we designed this bottle opener using a particular material, very unique. It was a composite that was 70% glass, so very lightweight, extremely strong. They use it as a metal replacement. And so that was our sort of starting point. And it was essentially a beta test. It was our learning process of saying, well, how does Kickstarter work? How does engaging with clients and those sorts of, or customers work as well? And so it was a fascinating experiment. We wanted to raise $10,000. We raised 14. Like, yes, great, good result. But for us, it was just more, we didn't want to fail. That was the biggest thing. So, but what was fascinating was then fast forward 2 years, I had taken the product to trade shows in Sydney and Melbourne and started to try to see whether people would be interested. And so that was, again, a testing process of seeing what people found of the product, of the brand. And again, we were very much in the infancy. And so what we found was that people would pick it up and go, particularly the trade shows we're in was lifestyle homeware. So a lot of the buyers were female. They'd pick it up and they'd go, oh, it feels very light. Didn't feel, it felt like plastic. And it's, you know, you'd explain it's actually glass. But you give it to a male and the male is connected with the technicality of it, the science, you know, it's like, oh, materials, it's super lightweight, it's super strong. But so it wasn't a product fit for the market. But what we did end up doing was over those years created a metal version. And suddenly everyone who picks it up goes, ooh, that's really nice. I've got one here, you'll feel it. Very tactile. And that was why the brand was called Tactica. It's not actually tactical. It was the tactile nature of the products. And so we, again, learnt a lot through that process and realized that we created a niche product. It was for craft beer. Unless you're an alcoholic, you're not using it every day. So we wanted to have something that was more connected with the person on a day-to-day basis. So we created the Talon. And again, this multi-tool that we created was using the same material. So again, it's a learning process of saying, how can we utilize the best of this material into this new Intuit product? And we chose multi-tools because people would potentially connect with it every day. And we came up with the design that we thought would work. Unfortunately, we couldn't test it until we made it. And so we essentially did the Kickstarter off a prototype, a 3D model or print, and we physically couldn't test it. So we approached this differently as well. We pre-marketed. We had a good database of people before we launched. And so as a result, we went gangbusters. We ended up over 10,000 backers, something like 670,000 US dollars. So close to $1 million raised, which is fantastic. And that lasted all of, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. Christmas Day, 2016, I had sent out 5,000 units and I thought, great, I'm going to take the week off. I'll switch off. I deserve a break. We've worked really hard for this. And then check the emails, which I shouldn't have. It was probably a good idea I did. And as a result, people were coming back going, this is absolutely shit. It doesn't work. And so all of this feedback started to come back and we were like, oh my God, what's happened? So we went from a massive high to a massive, you know, feeling of failure. But what we found after 3 days of, you know, feeling sick was that I've been through this process before. So designing products for clients where you think you've come to a dead end and you realize, no, there's a solution here. I'm not seeing it yet, but I'll find it. And inevitably what I find, it will be better. So what happened was exactly that. We found a better solution. So essentially the second image is the product that we made. And what we found was that there was a lot more issues in real world tolerances of nuts and bolts than we realized. So essentially the material was amazing, but it had limitations. And so what we did was we realized what those limitations were, and then we started to work around it. And so we introduced the metal components to take the heavy lifting and the composite to do the other work. So that actual product stores two pieces inside, which you could never do before. And it's only because of this particular material. So what the learning from there was that it was an opportunity to either slink away or lean into it. And so we leant into it, and I answered every single comment that was there saying, this product is crap. And I'd go, I'm really sorry you feel about it this way. We're working to try to find a solution for you. We'll get back to you. And this was going on for a long time, and there was comments after comments. And so the sentiment was negative, negative, negative. But as soon as we developed a solution, which was the metal insert, and we basically said to people, if you've been infected, we'll send you a replacement free of charge. You just need to pay for shipping because we just can't cover that. But if you want extras, they'll be just say $10. And as a result, the sentiment just changed. And everyone at the end of that campaign was just saying, this is the best campaign to be involved with. You guys didn't, put us under the bus. You looked after us. And so it was a great brand building exercise in doing that. And so, there was lots of learnings that then continued on with our into our business. So in 2019, we launched the M250, which was an extension, again, expanding our product ranges. I'll go into a bit more detail about sort of what's happened over that time. But again, another challenge with that product was that we realized we were doing something unique with one of the belt clips, and because it was a Teflon type material, the adhesive didn't connect as well as what we had tested and thought. So when it went into people's hands, it started to come off because you could connect it to fridges. So it again resulted in us having to rethink, redesign, and tweak. But what this also process allowed us to do was to start to say, we need to have test pilots. We need people to evaluate. We need to beta testers in our process earlier and earlier on. And so that's what essentially happened here. We had testers, but we needed to do this much earlier on with our products. And then last year, our fourth campaign, we did a flashlight. So this was, again, expanding our ecosystem. So we were creating multi-tools and things like that, and then moving into new categories of electronics. So again, keeping things relatively simple, but bringing innovation into this space. So this is currently in testing phase for us. So we finished last September. It's taking a bit longer because of current global supply chain issues. But again, we have been in this long enough to know I'd rather wait 2 months and give you a product that's fantastic than rush it and then have to do a recall, which could be devastating. Or customers that say, I don't like the product. So again, people are testing the product at the moment, giving us feedback and things like that. So to give you just an idea, why Kickstarter? So for us, it's generated around $1.5 million, 4 campaigns. But the other reason is that we've got nearly 15,000 backers and sales equivalent to 25,000 units. So again, going into a retail or going beyond Kickstarter, all of those things are important in giving credibility to the demand of your product. If you're a new product and you haven't sold anything, how does someone know to take you on board when there's no data? And so this was our opportunity to create data, but also create some revenue. Now, if that was pure profit, that would be amazing and we'd be off to the stars. But as a rule of thumb, a good campaign would probably be 30%. That's doing well. So for example, our first campaign where we had the issue, we were planning on starting, we finished in September, I think. We were planning on selling our product in December, great. But as a result of the issues, that all stopped and ended up being 12 months delay. So luckily we had that buffer that allowed us to continue working, and then we're off and running. So timeline wise, our products, you can see from 2017, we basically started with 1 or 2 products. And then from 2019, we started to expand significantly. And that was introducing things like colors, new product ranges, and realizing with our customers that we needed to create a story. So rather than 1 or 2 products, when you start to get into distribution or retail, they all want to know, well, where's the range? And so that's where we needed to really expand our product offering, our price points considerably to be able to do that for our customers. Another element that we did was co-creation. So we collaborated with other brands. One in particular was Knog, where we had our product, the F.100, which was the Talon that you saw, and we collaborated with Knog to create a bike tool. So essentially adapting 2 tire levers that magnetically snap onto the outside of the product and then customize the bits for bikes. And so for this one, this was again a great learning experience. For us, it was we've got a great relationship with this company. Unfortunately, talking about supply chain issues, but the manufacturer let us down. So we're all ready to go. Distributors were excited. Manufacturing let us down, and it took 12 months before the product was available. And even then, when it came out, there were some issues. So what happened was the distributors then, when we went to say, hey, it's ready, they basically said, oh, we've seen this, what's new? So even though the customers haven't seen it, the distributors already made that decision. So again, that was a really valuable learning experience of being ready to go 100%. And unfortunately, we thought we were, but this is just how it happened. And so we ended up taking that product into our brand, because originally Knog was selling it through their channels. So again, a great learning from that. Another collab we're actually currently doing is a new knife. So we're getting into knives as well. So part of our outdoor adventure products is looking at expanding the ecosystem. So people want to engage with Tactica and love the products, but do they need another multi-tool? Maybe not. Do they need a torch? Yes. Do they need a knife? Do they need other tools? So again, it's part of our expansion of different offerings for different categories. Quickly, I just wanted to touch on some things as well, just about our brand. And it's just how it's evolved over that period of time. So another takeaway is that you don't know what you don't know. Many of the times when you come to developing your brand or your products, you can't have all the answers at the start, and you've just got to put your foot forward and move, and continue to move the direction you think you are going. And so for us, we started, as you can see, very, very early on, like our point of sale, how we looked at a trade show, you know, very black, very male focused. It was all, you know, about the technical. And then it sort of evolved to, so these are some overseas trade shows where, again, very black, because our products were black. We didn't have color. And so, as you can see, we started to introduce color, and then now this is what we look like. So very much about the color, the lifestyle, the options for people. So a very different experience when you get onto our website, our Instagram, all of those sorts of things. And so again, it's an evolution about us learning that actually we are an adventure hardware company, and that's what we're about. So yeah. So from, I guess, the 3 key sort of takeaways I wanted to give you, because I didn't want to make this presentation too long, was just that you'll be challenged throughout your entrepreneurial journey or in life. And it's those formative times that you either shrink away or lean in. Like for us, for our Kickstarter campaign, someone said, why didn't you just take the money? And we could have. We could have taken the money and said, well, here's the product. It didn't work, or it didn't but it's a Kickstarter, bad luck. But that wasn't us. We were about building a brand, a reputation, and connecting with customers. So it was a very formative time, a difficult time, but we came out stronger. The second thing is that these challenges that you do get, inevitably the solution is there and it is better than what than you thought or that you originally had. Like for us, I'm glad we had that issue because it allowed us to change the way we approached the material and created our products. So all of our products now are very different. And when you do come with challenges, you just sit there and go, okay, I'm a little bit stressed, but that'll pass. And then let's focus and we'll find the solution. And again, better connect with the customer and have a better relationship and better brand experience or customer experience. And the third thing is surround yourself with good people. So Tactica is 2 people, myself and 1 employee in Melbourne. And we've managed to build this company to this point, but we're surrounded by really good people in brand, in finance, in graphics, like just a lot of different people that we can tap into to help us in the business. So the intention was always to be lean and adaptive so that when COVID struck, for example, we didn't have massive overheads and we could get through COVID. And again, it allowed us to have choice. So for us, for myself personally, we're in Melbourne, we're in hard lockdown. I didn't put the foot to the pedal with the business. I allowed it for us to have homeschooling, mental health for our kids, all of that sort of thing. So it just allowed choice, but we had good people around us that allowed the business to continue to be strong, but you go at your pace. So for us, for the future, it's really about the next step. So we've used crowdfunding to create that capital injection that we needed to get our products going. But now it's really about taking the business to the next level. So we're about to do another crowdfunding, but this time equity crowdfunding. So looking for our community to invest in the business to get us to this next step, to allow us to scale where we need to then look at doing a series for sophisticated investors to get on board. So again, part of that strategy of growing to a point, proving that the business is viable, there's revenue, that people can buy into it, rather than necessarily for us, pitching a concept, an idea. We wanted to prove it before we started to go to people to say, right, we've proven it, here are the runs on the board, this is what everyone thinks, let's go. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight. And yeah, happy to listen to any questions you might have.
So we've got a few questions from attendees at registration. And the first one is from Brendan Yell from Twilio. And he's asking, how did you get your first customers? So we know about the crowdfunding, but...
So our first customers would have been through the trade shows. And it was really fascinating when you're selling your goods. So from not being a salesman at all or person, to be there spruiking your wares and trying to connect with people. It's a really interesting experience of you become a really good listener and connecting in with, potential customers. What are their needs? What are their drivers? And that's what we did all along to help us evolve, as you could see, our brand, but also our point of sale. So that experience from a logistics perspective of distribution and again, it's just those sorts of connections that are so important.
And I guess the trade shows are really valuable too, because you get to see what competitors or other product sellers, how they're styling their booths, how they're presenting their products. Yeah. And you're sort of talking about how that's changed for you over time. Did a lot of that come from seeing what other people were doing and thinking, that's a good idea? Definitely,
but also it makes you go, I've got to stick to my own path. Because often it is, you've got to, throw it out there and just go for it, even though other people might be doing certain things. So there was a point where we started to look at pastel colors and things like that. And we put it out to our community to say, here's a color range, and there was some military colors and things like that. And by far the surprising one was orange, came in as the most popular. And we were like, wow, I wouldn't have seen that. And so as a result, that's our core color as it's evolved over the years. And yeah, that was a really unexpected thing. Yeah, but also with the trade show about seeing other brands, it's also for us, like that multi-tool that I was talking to you about, we had a prototype on our stand. We had our bottle openers. So this was early on, and we had the prototype there. And by far, like all the retailers would come up and start saying, I like this, but what's that? And they'd point at the multi-tool because I hadn't seen anything like it. And we ended up selling some product that was a prototype. We hadn't even made it yet. And so that showed us that, okay, we're onto something. And again, just that learning and that, yeah, just giving you that confidence of the direction you're going, that it wasn't like you went from zero to massive. It's like all of these little cues let you build up the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. Yeah.
The next question we've got is from Sanjay Gund from My File, who's asking, how have you financed the early stages of the business? So pre crowdfunding?
Yeah, so really it was myself. So here we were running a design business, and essentially what we started to do was, it's a bit like blackjack. You're putting it all on, all on red or black, because we started to invest into this multi-tool. So it was kind of like it had to be successful, because otherwise I wasn't doing new business for the consultancy. And so, but again, all of these little cues helped. But yeah, so that helped considerably. So I think I breathed a sigh of relief once we hit 500,000. That's when it was just like, oh, okay, all right, we're okay now. As far as the crowdfunding campaign goes.
Was that 500,000 always the original target, or did you kind of say, if we get to 250, that'd be okay, but you were secretly hoping for 500, and then when you got, was it
in my wildest dreams, we didn't expect anything like that. The highest multi-tool prior to this was 220.
Wow, okay.
So we blew it out of the water. And again, I think it was just the zeitgeist. We were at the right time, at the right place, and it just clicked. Yeah.
The next question we've got is from John Ingle, who's asking, was crowdfunding always your first preference for capital raising?
It was, because at that stage, how could we go to a bank and say, we've got an idea, can you give us $500,000 so we can do something with it? It just wasn't a viable option for us. And also, I think I'm a very different person now than I was at the very start, even though running a consultancy, running an entrepreneurial endeavor is very different, even though there's entrepreneurial aspects to it. I'm glad for this journey, because I wouldn't change it, because it's allowed me to evolve and grow as the business has grown, to be like, now we're looking for an investment. It's like, we're ready for it,
Yeah. And I guess the benefit of crowdfunding, like you were saying, and you've given so many examples in your talk, is not just about the capital raising potential, but the feedback potential as well.
And
you can put something,
yeah.
You can put something out there, and if it's not gaining traction, you kind of get those early, before you've even built anything, you've kind of got that early feedback already to sort of say, maybe we need to be thinking about it a little bit differently.
Correct.
Yeah,
and that's where now we're looking to actually involve our customers earlier on in the process to exactly do that. Say, these are some concepts, what do you think? And then start to, like, you need to drive the, it's kind of, you're the brand owner in the direction. You can't go to every whim, otherwise you'll create a homomobile. And so, but equally, it's great to get their feedback earlier on, for sure.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance. I think it was, they say Henry Ford, not sure if he actually said this or not, but if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, not cars. So you kind of can't listen to every piece of feedback that you get. But
exactly.
When you're getting a lot of signals in the same, like coming from the same direction,
correct.
You kind of know.
You got to listen.
Yeah, you got to listen.
Yeah.
The next question we've got here is from Monica Reen, who's asking, where did you initially learn the best ways to run a crowdfunding campaign?
So for us, it was actually experience. it's interesting. We're now on our done our fourth campaign, but we're also offering an advisory service. So it's called Tactica Advisory. So we help other campaigns through this because it's almost a case of we're not the marketers, but we're the people that sort of sit on your shoulder to help you along that process, because that's what I didn't have. And so that's where I wanted to be able to help other brands do exactly that. And so initially, no, we didn't. And it was through that learning process of really the bottle opener was the first one where we knew what not to do, that we needed to do pre-marketing. So the marketing's the biggest thing.
And I know too, these crowdfunding platforms provide some really excellent advice and sort of short courses or videos and online tools for how to try to have a really successful crowdfunding campaign as well.
Oh yeah, they do. They do. But companies like Kickstarter, you're just a number. There's a preconception that I'll put it on crowdfunding and it'll go gangbusters. It's like, no, the campaigns that are doing $1 million, they've spent 100,000 on marketing. Like, they're just really like, maybe there's one in a million that does, sort of hit that zeitgeist. But otherwise, there is big money being spent on marketing and getting it into the front of, people's eyes and all of that sort of thing. So it's a very different beast. It's evolved a lot over the years.
It's a lot more sophisticated than it was when it first started,
hugely. Right? Video production, all of that. Like our video this time was very, very different. It was again, it's us lifting our level as a brand, and so a very different experience.
And are you leveraging social media to promote the Kickstarter campaigns that you're doing now?
Yes, yeah. You utilising all the channels you can, yeah.
So we've got some questions here that are sort of more challenge related. And one of the questions here is from Kate Patel, who's asking, what have been the more surprising challenges in your business journey?
That's a good one. I think how much I enjoy the entrepreneurial journey. I couldn't imagine working for anyone. Although I am working for my customers and soon investors. But yeah, it's fascinating. You got to remember, it's like I chose this. So as much as there's problems or whatever, it's like I chose this, and this is why I'm here. To work through these issues and to create products that people need and things like that. So that's been a really interesting aspect. Connecting in with a lot of new people, so other brands, because like going to trade shows, for example, it's all like, yes, you're there selling, you're trying to capture customers, but at the same time, it becomes like a family. And so you do leverage that when you come across something to say, hey, I haven't had this problem before, or how have you done this? And so it's really great from that perspective. So it's good to surround yourself, because it is the other thing is probably it's such an isolating journey, because none of your family, unless someone else is doing it, they can't appreciate the stress, the challenges you go through in your head on a daily basis. On this journey. So talking to other entrepreneurs is great to go, I'm not alone. Yeah.
Definitely. We hear that a lot, especially from people who come into co-work. It's not that it's the desk or the space or the perks. It's actually being able to speak to other entrepreneurs and just have that channel to communicate with others who are kind of going through a similar experience, and being able to impart your wisdom on others is also kind of self-satisfying, because you kind of forget how far you've progressed.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we get people who do presentations like this and they are talking about their whole journey, and they kind of say to us at the end, that was really great to do because I haven't stopped to think how far I've come.
That's glad you raised it, because that's one thing I wanted to mention, was a really important thing that I did early on was to reflect the 12 months that was. Because on this journey, it's so easy to look at it going, oh, we've got all these problems and you know, you always can look at the negative, but every December I look at what happened the year before. So, you know, 2016, we looked at it and went, oh, we had a great campaign, but we had a disaster. But then you looked at it 12 months later and said, but we actually, we actually had a successful, we got the problem, we got a successful product out, and we got another product out. And so as you look back, you go, our brand's expanded, our sales have increased, our customer base has increased. It may not feel like it because you're growing. And so there's growing pains all the time. So it's just a really interesting thing to reflect back on the year that was and go, you know, congratulations, you know, because no one else will, but just to acknowledge it with the team and say, good work, let's look at next year.
The next question we've got here is from Ying Cheng at the University of Newcastle, and they're asking, can you talk us through your decision-making process when faced with a difficult business challenge?
Yeah, so I guess it really depends on the challenge, but I'm very much a head and heart person. So I really follow my gut instincts. Because it's like it's so informed with like information, knowledge, but also just, you know, is this the right thing to be doing or what have you. So often I will go back to if there is a challenge, what's the right thing to do, even if it is the hard decision. So for us, it was, you know, going back to our backers saying timelines have been delayed. We're going to take our time. We're not going to rush this. And so, yeah, you're going to catch flack for people saying you're late, but at the same time, other people come out saying, great, I'd rather, you know, no stress. So again, there's the small, loud voices that you can't let dominate over the broader, happier population.
And I guess too, in the space of crowdfunding where you do have all of these backers, it's being realistic about expectations and, you know, under-promising and over-delivering. Yeah. And
also, you want them to be part of the journey. The whole point of the crowdfunding was to actually expose them to what it is to make a product. These are the challenges. We have delays, we have this. This is the warts and all picture. And so we don't filter it to say, just here's all the rosy. It's like, well, this has gone wrong or this hasn't worked. So we got samples and we said, you know, the battery didn't work or this overheated. And so we're working on it and here's the solution. And so people can see that.
And I guess, I mean, it's probably something I maybe just took for granted, but just that on that point is, you know, we always talk about the importance of early adopters in your product development.
Yeah.
But when they've actually got a role in like co-creating the product or being involved in the updates, they must be like 10x early adopters, you know, because they're going to advocate on your behalf at the end because they feel like they're owning part of the journey.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that? Like,
totally. And that's what we are working now to really, I guess, embrace and integrate that into our process so that they become brand ambassadors so there's almost different levels of engagement and there's different levels in which how we engage with those people. So it's really mapping out the business and the experiences for different levels. So for us, for example, like the crowdfunding, it's just an element of our business now. Like that was a larger part, but as we've grown, the revenue streams have come from different sources. And so again, there's different requirements for different, you know, because our market is mainly the US. And so, just the communication and the connection with whether it's retailers, online, Amazon, it really depends.
Has it been challenging then remembering those early adopters in the crowdfunding campaign and like, you know, when you kind of, all these different channels for selling are expanding and you kind of got to stop and say, hang on, I've got to be loyal to the people who showed us that loyalty at the very beginning and kind of remind yourself. And
totally. And it's challenging because, as I said, there's two people at the moment. And which is why we're looking for the investment to allow us to expand and get more people on board and to really get our customer experiences, that connection down, because it's such a valuable part of our business that we want to grow. Because we want to, like, we can see people are passionate. We got an email from one person that I think this was Hurricane Katrina, but he was using our multi-tool to do his hurricane shutters and things like that. Or someone broke down on their motorbike and he realized that, oh, he had the tool in his jacket and he could fix the motorbike enough to get home. So things like that are just awesome stories. Yeah.
The next question we've got is from Raymond Wynn from Canberra Daily Deals, and he's asking, what were some of the technology challenges?
I think we're probably seeing them now as we are getting larger, and it's really for us to be able to go to the next step and expand into the US market. We really need to make sure our systems and processes are right. So we're doing a bit of a trade show bandwagon at the moment, just proving up, because it's our first time, like 6 months, well, halfway through last year, we started to come into the Australian market with our point of sales, and just to see what's the response, so that we had confidence going into the US market, that, you know, if we bring on 100 retailers here, well, then technically we should be able to bring on 1,000 retailers in America, being 10 times the size, as you know, as an idea. But before you can do that, you need to make sure that your processes are right. So this is what we're going through, to really detail what are our customer experiences, be it the person that finds us randomly, the person that hears about us, the person that buys a product, or the retailer or the distributor. Like, what are their experiences, so that that can be mapped out and it becomes a genuine connection with the brand, so that as we get bigger, we can start to connect in with customers and have that greater loyal following that doesn't require 20 people to manage. So that's our technology challenges at the moment.
And how do you manage the process of mapping out all those journeys, anticipating pinch points or problems in the future, and kind of, because there's a lot of them, right? You can imagine a whole lot of things that could go wrong or could be optimized better, but it depends on a whole bunch of different variables that you don't know yet, because it's all in the future. How do you manage what you focus on in regards to that customer experience for all of those different
great question. Again, like I said before, surround yourself with good people. So we have someone for that, like exact reason, that is a specialist in the area. And again, it's a case of saying, I don't know what the future holds, but we can map out what we can map out, and then we can prioritize what do we tackle first, second, third. And the thing is that when you look, you go, well, tomorrow I'm better off than I was yesterday. And that's the process, is just one step forward. And a great saying that I've read, and it's one thing to really live by, is today I will do what others can't. Today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. And that is really it. It's your business is successful because of these little steps that you take and that you build on. And you look back and you go, gee, 6 months ago, look where we were, where we are today. And it still might not be everything mapped, but it's you're better at retaining people. You're better at connecting with people and having these conversations. So, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to jump to any questions from the audience. I'm just going to ask one more question. So if you've got one, keep it in mind. Oh, okay, we've got hands up already. Sometimes I have to put it out there, so get people's brains percolating at this time of the morning. So I'm going to hand it over. If you can just introduce yourself and then ask your question, that'd be great.
G'day, I'm Dan. Thanks for the presentation. That was really interesting.
Oh, thanks.
I was actually a backer of your first bottle opener. So there you go.
Oh, the bottle opener.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know it was you, actually. So I was looking at the multi-tool.
There you go.
I've run a Kickstarter before, and I'm going to run another one this year. I was just wondering, what's your advice to someone with like zero marketing budget, and how to drive people to the Kickstarter? And also, Kickstarter versus Indiegogo. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, that's a hard one. Indiegogo, there's benefits to both. We're kind of locked into Kickstarter because we've done 4 projects. we typically get like the project we love or the staff pick kind of thing, because what we come out is is innovative, but I think there's that history of once you get it, kind of they look favorably on you. So it'll be hard for us to necessarily swap over. But for you, Indiegogo seemed to be more connected with the projects. So I think that definitely is an option to look at. Zero marketing budget, that is that's hard, because it's almost, you've got to find it somewhere to market it, because unless you've got, so you've really got to have an email list. So the rule of thumb is if your project isn't funded within 24 hours, forget it, right? And funded, I mean, like, goals are arbitrary. Like, our goal might have been $20,000, but the true cost might have been 80, right? For example. But you don't want to put 80 there because you need to get it funded within 24 hours for it just to be acceptable, not newsworthy, but you've ticked that box. Whether you're newsworthy for people to pick it up, that's a different story. But if you haven't been funded, you just kind of like forget it. You're not even going to get the look in, so to speak. So I'd happy to talk to you afterwards, but I'd say marketing budget is, find it somewhere, because you need, 2,000, 5,000 people signed up before you can hit the ground running. So you can get that first day kick, and it also gives you confidence that people want this product. So if you're not connecting, so that's why it's really important. We helped one campaign. Julian, his brand is called Time Birds. He came to see me because I know the guy that designed his product, or co-designed it with him. And when Julian saw me, I said, when are you launching? He said, next week. I said, how many emails you got? He said, oh, we've got a few hundred. And I was like, look, have you done any pre-marketing? He said, no, we're just going to send out emails. I was like, look, honestly, stop. Don't launch. This is just my advice, but don't launch. Wait, do your pre-marketing, because I thought the product was a killer. It was a small timer for CrossFit. So similar to what the big ones are, but it's just a small one that you can snap onto equipment. And because I've done it in the past, I was like, that is a brilliant product. I love it. And so I was passionate about it. And so he stopped. We helped him. He did the pre-marketing. He ended up getting extraordinary uptake. He was really connected in with the community. They ended up getting like 12,000 sign up before the campaign started. And I said, what's success look like for you? He said, to make this viable business, I need 350,000 at the end of the campaign. And I was like, okay, no worries. Day one, he got 370. By the end of the campaign, he ended up with 1.5 million, and he's off and running. He's been, the top athletes were using it. So again, it was one of those products at the right time, but it was great to see that product take off. But he made the hard choice to then wait and then see, because you've got like one chance to make a good first impression. That's why I'm glad he did do that. Yeah, that's cool.
Hi, I'm John.
Hey, John.
I think you mentioned your next capital raise is going to be in exchange for equity.
Yes.
And I guess my question is how you plan to go about doing that, and what's the purpose of raising more money? How are you going to use the funds?
Yeah. So we'll be going through virtual platform to do the equity raise. The reason why is that for us, it's about growth. So like, we've got the revenue, and so it can be that incremental growing like this, but we need to really kick it up a gear. And so for us, we need the capital injection for inventory, for example, because our product lines have expanded. So early on, you had one or two products, you go make 5,000 of each, no problem. But now when you've got 22 lines and you say make 5,000 of each, well, there's 110,000 units. Let's just say they cost $5 each. There's $500,000 plus of capital you need for inventory. And so that's where the challenge is as you grow, we're expanding our product ranges. We're at a point now where we need that investment, but also for people as well. So, so that we can have a dedicated social community engagement person and some other things as well. So again, but it's a balancing act of how much capital do we need now and how much equity can we give away to then grow and then have almost more runs on the board before we then do a round with sophisticated investors and get some serious capital in to then sort of, again, ramp it up another gear. So, yeah.
I couldn't actually hear what you said, the method you were using, Grace.
Oh, virtual.
Virtual.
A B.
Virtual.
Yeah, so there's two main ones, virtual and equitize. And so we're going with virtual because that's more of a retail sort of individual investor based, whereas equitize they're a lot more of the wholesale investor. And that for us is more the stage two. So for the stage one, again, we want to connect with the community. Stage two is, again, proving as we've got the investment that we've done what we said we're going to do. And then that, again, makes it better for other investors to get on board. Yeah.
Hi, Michael. My name is Abid. I'm the founder of Thermalog and located up here at the I2N as well. I'm currently at the stage of manufacturing, and I was wondering, I heard your story and it's a pretty interesting journey. Would you touch a little bit about if you had any problems with manufacturing, or what was your experience altogether?
Yeah, look, we've had ups and downs with manufacturing over the years. And even with my experience in that space. So, yeah, we've had some manufacturers that have let us down in the past, basically took the eye off the ball because part of their business was taking off. So the other part was they let go almost, or they didn't focus the attention that was needed. And then subsequently we used another company that we thought was, again, the right partner. And through this process, we still maintain our product integrity, but it's the warning signs that you look out for and go, it's not quite right. I don't want to continue this with this manufacturer. We need to find someone else. So we currently have secured a fantastic manufacturer. They actually supply like the Walmarts of the world, but they've got a smaller division that handles some of our size sort of company. And so, but we found that the manufacturing is so critical to have that relationship, and especially now with COVID, where we can't hop over to China and see our production going. There is so much trust required. So for us, that was really important, and making sure that the quality is there, that the timeliness of production, all of those sorts of things. But at the same time, I think you can do a lot for yourself. So for us, with some of our larger customers, we work well ahead, like 5-6 months ahead, so that we can make the production, get it on a boat, and get it to them before their deadline. So that's why we're sort of pushing them, going, give us a PO, so that they don't run into trouble, because we see it now in the States where people are scrambling, going, they need to supply a product, and they're going, do you have stock? Do you have stock? And it's a real challenge. One from a manufacturing's relatively okay. Now currently it's a challenge because Shanghai's locked down, and how that's going to impact everyone else, who knows? But container prices, sea freight, all of those sorts of things. Like we had a problem with one of our products has a flint in it, like a fire stick to start a fire, like our little camping tool. But we needed to send like 20,000 of them to the US. And he was like, we could either get it there on time by a fast boat, but it couldn't, if it had the flint, it'd have to go on a slow boat, which would take 2 months. And it'll be too close to the deadline. So we made the call to say, take the flint out, let's ship it by the fast boat, and then we'll air freight the flint separately. So it cost us, it was an impact to us, but again, we got it to the customer in time. But it's those sorts of challenges that you kind of, you got to address, work through. But the further ahead you can work, especially today, the better in your production or getting better expectations of delivery. Because the last thing we wanted to do is overpromise and underdeliver. So, yeah.
I'm going to have to wrap it up. I'm sorry, because I know people might have metered parking outside. But thank you so much for your time today, Mike. He's going to stick around a little bit. So if anyone does have any questions they want to ask Mike, you're more than welcome to. If we could just give it up for Mike for his time this morning and sharing his startup story. And just a few quick messages from us. We've got, if you're a researcher or a PhD student at the University of Newcastle, we have our Navigator for Researchers program with expressions of interest currently open for that. It's a 2-day workshop where we really get you to start thinking about what your impact potential might be with your research project. Our next Join the Dots is later this month on the Thursday, the 28th of April, right here on the ground floor. And it's all about pitching. So we have some startups pitching, and we also have some people who can help startups pitching what they do as well. And then incubator, so co-working for startups. If you're interested in visiting the space upstairs, please let us know. We can take you upstairs on a tour. And then venture mentor service as well. If you're a part of a founding team of which one of you has an affiliation to the University of Newcastle, either student, staff or alumni, or you've participated in some I2N programs, you can make an application to be mentored by a team of mentors through venture mentor service. Hit up our website for more details of that. Again, thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate your time. And everyone have a fantastic day. And thanks for making the time to come out to I2N Hub Honeysuckle.